So this is a really great portfolio for somebody who's trying to build long-term wealth and plan their dividends out. You know, one of the biggest questions I get asked on my channel is, how do you track your dividends? How do you plan for that? How do you know how much you're making monthly, daily, hourly? Yeah, well, I'm gonna show you the spreadsheet today, and I've got it available for download for you. Hey everyone, welcome back to Drawbridge Finance. My name is Levi Woods. I'm not a professional investor. I don't work in the finance industry, and this is not financial advice at all. I am in the business of helping educate people so that they can make more informed decisions. Now, one of the things that I've done for my entire life is dividend invest. I mean, I started buying stocks when I was 16 years old, and I have continued to buy stocks until I got to my 40th birthday, when all of a sudden the stocks that I own are actually paying me enough that I can afford to live without actually working, which is pretty amazing. Now, of course, if you guys don't already know, I have an awesome job, and as soon as we get back off of this crazy COVID, I'll be back to it because I love it. I mean, I'm not gonna work as hard as I used to, but that's one of the luxuries I have because I did this dividend investing. Now, when you open it up, it really looks quite simple, but it's got a lot of complexity to it. You'll see how little information you actually have to enter in order for this to populate completely. It tells you everything: book value, market value, gain, loss, all of your dividend, expected dividend yield. It's pretty awesome. I think it's pretty awesome. Let's get into it. The first page we're gonna look at is my summary page. Now, just like all my other spreadsheets, you only enter data into the white cells. So let's take a look. You've got your US account name. We've got a cash balance here that we can fill in. And then we have this little box here, which is how many shares can I purchase? This is one of my favorite attributes about this chart, and you do not see this on conventional charting platforms of any sort. Now, down this side, this is where the stocks are gonna come up, and all the information is gonna populate automatically over the bulk of the spreadsheet, which is pretty cool. If you guys want to follow along, the charts are available to my patrons this month. If you're watching this in May of 2020, you can just go on to Patreon and you can download the chart. It's part of your tier rewards. So that's the first place you can do it. Now, if you're not watching it in May and you're watching this later, that's cool too. Just head over to my Etsy store. You guys can just download it there. I'll have it available. I sell this particular chart in both Google Sheets and in Apple Numbers. So there's three other tabs. If you look up here in the numbers version, in the Google version, it'll be down below. The second tab is the deposit ledger. It's pretty straightforward. We just type in a date. So this is just deposits that we would put in cash into the account. Let's say we did a deposit May 1st and we deposited $30,000. If you want to do a withdrawal, you can easily. You just put in a negative number. So $4,000 out, and it'll automatically calculate it, and it automatically fills in deposit or withdrawal. So I've made it pretty straightforward. The date really is not necessary. That's optional. Now, I like to track everything very specifically, so I always have dates with all of my transactions. Now, this third tab is the instructions. It has some detailed instructions on some of the cell data and some of the reasoning behind the color coding, and you'll see that in a little bit. The original, now this says make copy. Now, the idea with this is that every stock that I have in my portfolio is gonna get its own sheet. So if I wanted to say buy Apple shares, the first thing I would do is just make a duplicate of this. So I would say duplicate, then I would grab this, and in numbers, I would just rename it. I'm gonna call it AAPL because that's the stock ticker. And then in B2, it asks for the stock symbol. So I'm gonna put in AAPL. This is Apple. And you can see it automatically starts to populate some of this data. It pulls up Apple Inc. and it also tells us the current value of 303.74. Date, again, is optional. I like to put it in because that's how I roll. If you're doing this in a margin account, at some point you're gonna have to report your average cost of buying the shares. So it's really important that you know what date and what you paid for the stock. So if you're starting investing, especially if you're young, then you need to really be on top of this, because when you get to my age and you've got a massive portfolio and you're like taking your capital gains and you're paying taxes every year, it becomes part of the investment. And it's really important to get a handle on it when you're younger. We'll do May 1st, we're gonna buy. So I'm gonna put in a positive number here, and it's gonna automatically populate buy. Adjustment, now this is for option pricing. If you're using options to either purchase stock or if you're selling covered calls, when your stock gets called away from you, you have to put that adjustment somewhere. So that's why I put this in here. This is a complex sheet for people that are like myself, that are option traders and dividend investors both. If you're not trading options, adjustment will just be blank. Now the commission, now Americans, you guys have the super low commissions, but we have to pay some money up here in Canada. So I'm gonna put in $1 here for the commission, and I'm gonna say that we bought this, it was a couple days ago, so I'm gonna say we purchased it for $300 a share. Now you can see that it starts to populate out everything. It tells us that the transaction total was $300, 10 shares plus the $1 commission. It tells us we have a current share balance of $10 and we have an adjusted cost basis of $3,001. It also tells us we have an average share price of $300.10. Up here, it gives us that cumulative total. So we've got the 10 shares, average share price, and then the book value, 3,001. Now this will change over time. If you decide that you want to buy Apple shares every single month, if I add an Apple share here and I pay 10 cents to buy that, and then I buy that for, I don't know, maybe next month it's going to be trading at $2.90, then all of a sudden it adjusts our average share price, it adjusts the cost basis, and it tells us we have what our share balance is, and it adjusts it up here. So this is always the current valuation up at the top, and this is kind of the ledger going down. So we could just fill this in, we just pop in a couple of numbers. You can copy and paste data into this as well. So if you're downloading CSVs from your brokerage, super simple to just copy and paste this information right into this. Let's buy another share, $2.95. Maybe that's the plan. We're gonna buy some shares every single month, and I'm just gonna copy and paste that down. And let's just see what happens. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to enter this data. Now I've got 30 shares in here. You can see it right up here, the total 30 shares. My average share price is $2.96 because I've been buying them on the low times, below the 50-day and 200-day moving averages, preferably. We're gonna sell something. So I'm gonna sell off 10 shares here. And I'm going to type that in and it'll automatically put in a sell. I've got some cool things built into the spreadsheet. For example, if I put in a negative number here, it will automatically highlight in red because I don't want that to be negative, obviously. Also, if I sell too many shares, if I try to sell 40 shares, it puts the share balance into a negative and it highlights it in red. The transaction total, of course, can be negative if we are selling. If this was entered correctly, say we sold off our 30 shares, here's our commission was 10 cents, and we sold them for $320, making a nice little profit. So you can see that we could sell off all of our shares in the middle of this and then start to buy the shares again, and it'll automatically calculate out what your average share price is. It's a pretty slick little chart. There's quite a lot of programming in here. So if you've downloaded it, don't mess with the programming because that's the magic in these sheets. But if you have to, I mean, I don't lock these spreadsheets in any way. If you guys want to reprogram them, redesign them, do whatever you want, then go ahead. Please don't sell them. I mean, they are my intellectual property. That would be awesome. They are for personal use. It also, if you've got a withdrawal, here's like a sell. When we sell, it'll also put your capital gains and loss in here. And then there's this additional column that you can use to tabulate up your annual capital gains or loss for when you have to pay your income tax, which is a part of investing, paying tax. All right, so I think we have a handle on that. Let's go back to the summary page. So we click over here on summary sheet. There's not a lot of information on here right now, and there's not a lot of places to enter information. So the first thing you're gonna do is type in the symbol and hit enter. It doesn't really matter what order you enter these symbols in because numbers works great. You can easily sort these alphabetically, or you can just manually put them in and rearrange them however you want. Each line is independent of the line. There's nothing in this particular sheet that references anything above it. So as long as you move a full line, it's really easy to move this up and down. It's a massive sheet. It goes down to 104, but you could expand it even further if you wanted. I don't know why you would want more than 104 different stocks in a portfolio. You'd never be able to track them. I myself have, up to 40 in some of my accounts, but never 100. Now, if we look at this, it starts to give us some information. So we've got AAPL. It tells us that it's Apple. It tells us what the last price was, at $303.74. It says we currently own 50 shares. We've paid an average of $290.02. The book value, now that's the value that you paid for all of the shares that you own. So the total cost of those 50 shares out of pocket was $14,501. Now the current value, the market value, if you were to sell them today for $303.74 would be $15,187. It also tells us the unrealized profit or loss. So if you sold them at today's value, this is how much money you would have made, $686. Total change 4.73%. The estimated dividend per share is. So this is $3.20 for every share. So there's 50 shares. This works out to a 1.08% yield. So now that 3.28 times 50 shares, this is annual, so it means the estimated annual dividend payout is $164 Pretty awesome. It also tells us what percentage of the portfolio we hold in this particular stock. So in this case, there's only one stock, so it's 100% in Apple. It tells us we've put in 30,000. It tells us that the total investment are worth 15,000, and it's showing that we've had an account value change of minus 50%. Now that is totally wrong. Obviously that hasn't happened. It's because we aren't showing our cash balance. Obviously, if we put 30,000 in and we purchase 14,500, then the other 15,499 has to be somewhere. So it would just be sitting in cash, and that's where we would put this in. So 15,499. We pop that in, and then we would show this total market value would now be $30,686. It shows our account value change of 2.29%. Now that's on the total value. This account value change and the total change are two different numbers. This one's calculating based off of the amount you originally deposited, and this one's calculating off of the book value relative to the market value. So two different percentages. Now you guys remember that video I did way long time ago? Percentages are liars? That's a perfect example of it. Two different percentages, very dramatically different numbers. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to populate out the rest of this chart. So we're going to set up a $30,000 portfolio today, and I'm going to show you what I would invest if I was buying today. So let's take a look at this. I've got $30,000 in here. I'm going to delete the data here right off the top. That's how easy it is to go back to blank. So I'm going to make a duplicate here, and I'm going to call it BCE. So that's going to be the other stock. Now you can rearrange these however you like as well. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to duplicate this again, and I'm going to call this one CM. I've skipped ahead. I've populated out these spreadsheets for us. So you can see at the top we've got AAPL, BCE, CM, FTS, JJJ, T, and VTI. There's an important thing when you're building these. The data here in cell B2 has to be the same name as the sheet name. Otherwise, the formatting won't work. So when we go over to the summary page, if I have something different up here, it won't pull the data correctly. That's a word of caution with this particular one. In the Google Sheets, it kind of auto formats it a little bit differently. As soon as you fill in cell B2, it renames the sheet, and it also fills in the summary sheet. So that's kind of a cool feature of Google Sheets. I don't know if that's a feature you want to keep on. It might be kind of annoying. So I have a feeling once you get into customizing this worksheet a little bit, you might end up turning that off, but I have pre-built it like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in the BCE, we're going to type in CM, TS, JNJ, and you can see how simple this is to enter. So once we've decided what stocks we're going to buy, and these are all great stocks to buy. Now, this is my favorite part of this whole spreadsheet. We've got some cash balance in there of $30,000 because we haven't purchased any stocks yet. How many shares can I purchase with X amount of money? And this will automatically tell you, so it's pretty cool. What if we want to buy $2,500 positions? Well, it just automatically calculates how many shares. So if you want to buy Apple, you could buy 8.2 shares. You can just go over to AAPL without even thinking. I can just say I want to buy 8 shares, no adjustment, 0 commission, and I pay $299 for it. So let's take a look at that. We go back to the summary, and wow, it's filled out. Now, the $2,500, we look down, BCE, we can buy 61 shares. So we go to BCE, we got to type this in up here, BCE. It's trading at $40.39. What did we say? 61 shares, something like that. And this one, we're going to pay $40.39. Just type that in, go back to the summary. Look at the next one, CM, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, 42 shares. It just tells us right there. And so this is how you can easily build a diversified portfolio. And what it's starting to do too is tell you the percentage of account. And you can see these are highlighted. So again, if you go back to the instructions, it tells you what they mean. Basically, I have those as indicators. If I had a stock position that was quite a low valuation of my total net worth, it has a little green indicator that pops up and it'll say, oh, well, hey, maybe you should consider buying some of those stocks to help diversify your portfolio. Or these orange ones are kind of a caution. They're like, maybe you have too much relative to the rest of your portfolio. Now, in the case of VTI, I would want quite a lot of that because that's a good diverse index fund. It doesn't cost us any money, and it gets this 30,000 really starts to diversify quickly when we add a product like that. What I might want to do is just change this. Maybe I'll put 15,000 into VTI. So If we type in 15,000 up here, it'll tell me that I can buy 103 shares. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build a portfolio that's around 2,500 of each of these stocks. We'll have a little tiny bit in cash, and then we'll have 50% of it in the VTI. I think that's a pretty balanced way to invest in a portfolio today. So it says 103 shares, so let's go over there. We can buy 103 of those, and the commission is free because it's an ETF, and we're gonna pay $144.75. Then we're gonna go back here. We're gonna change this back to 2,500. And then we can see for these other ones, we need 66, 16, and 86. Now you can see I'm being pretty lazy. I'm not filling out the dates, but you can put the date in or not. It's optional. So now this is starting to look like a portfolio. We can see in here that our estimated annual dividend is 2.3%. We're going to get $681 per year, which works out to $56 a month. A daily dividend of $1.87, which is pretty awesome. We have a bit of remainder cash here. We've spent $29,482, so we have about $500 left. You can just look this up on your statement and put in that exact amount. You can see 1.6% of the account is in cash, which on an account this small is probably all right. I mean, on bigger accounts, you want to be buffering that by keeping a little bit of cash because it protects us. Cash doesn't go down in value the same as shares can. So especially in volatile markets like this, it's a good idea to have at least some percentage of your wealth in cash, just as an emergency fund. I mean, there's no reason why you can't keep your emergency fund in your trading account. This is on a day-to-day. This is a sheet you can just pop in and look at it all the time. You can see what the current market value is. You can see the current price of the stock. We can see what our annual dividend is estimated. And then we can use this chart to help us make more informed decisions. Because that's what I want us to do, is make more informed decisions so we can get rich together. Because that's the whole goal of this channel, is to build knowledge and then build wealth together. I mean, it's pretty awesome. If you guys are considering joining Patreon, you should go check it out. There's free posts all the time, so you should at least follow along because that costs you nothing. And then if you decide to become a member, join us in the chat room because we're there every single morning looking at trades, looking at the stocks that we're trying to buy, and it's awesome. I mean, it's a great community out there. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys very soon.